Samarkand, Uzbekistan.
Reporting from New York for WION.
Creates ripples across ocean.
Hello and welcome, and thanks for tuning in. You're watching Gravitas. My name is Priyanka Sharma. Here's our show for tonight. Our top story comes from Pakistan. The self-proclaimed land of the pure. Too bad. Now it's officially being called a suicide nation. Why? Because in 2023, Pakistan witnessed the highest number of suicide attacks. Yes. According to a new report, Pakistan witnessed the most number of suicide attacks since 2014. What's worse? Nearly half of these attacks targeted security forces. This report is based on statistics that are released by the Pakistan Institute for Conflict and Security Studies. Let me now take you through the key findings. To start with, Pakistan witnessed a total of 29 suicide attacks this year. These attacks claimed more than 329 lives, and they left more than 582 individuals injured. What's most striking is the fact that 48% of the deaths were inflicted on security services personnel. So were 58% of the injuries. In other words, Pakistan's security forces were the biggest victims of these suicide attacks. It doesn't end there. I have more data. The report further reveals a distressing 93% rise in the number of suicide attacks, a shocking 226% rise in resultant deaths, and a troubling 101% surge in the number of injured individuals. Furthermore, the share of suicide attacks escalated from 3.9% in 2022 to 4.7% in 2023, underscoring the severity of the crisis. If we delve into regional specifics, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa bore the most brunt of the attacks. It reported 23 instances of terror attacks. They resulted in 254 fatalities and 512 injuries. Next, we have Pakistan's federally administered tribal areas. They witnessed 13 terror attacks, leading to more than 85 deaths and at least 206 injuries. Balochistan faced 5 attacks. They caused 67 deaths and 52 injuries. Sindh witnessed 1 attack. It resulted in 8 deaths and more than 18 injuries. These figures are quite telling. They reveal the disturbing surge in terror attacks across Pakistan. Since November last year, Pakistan has been in the constant grip of terror over a fragile truce between the Pakistani Taliban and the Pakistani government sitting in Islamabad broke down. This surge in attacks on Pakistan's western frontiers has also strained Islamabad's ties with Kabul. Islamabad has consistently called on Kabul to rein in the militants, which it alleges are using Afghan soil to launch these attacks. However, the Afghan Taliban denies Pakistan's allegations. They have repeatedly assured Islamabad that it doesn't allow its soil to be used for attacks against any country. These differences have led to a diplomatic standoff of sorts, with the border between the two countries frequently shutting down. And it's not just the borders. As I speak, Pakistan is also engaged in a water-sharing dispute with Afghanistan. According to reports, Afghanistan is planning to build a dam on the Kunar River, only that it plans to move ahead with this plan without the involvement of Pakistan. This is what a spokesperson for Afghanistan's Ministry of Energy and Water had to say. Allow me to quote. One of the big projects is the Gambri Dam project. This dam has the capacity to produce 45 megawatts of electricity and will irrigate 34,000 hectares of agricultural land, and it has been decided that this project will be completed by the private sector. This decision hasn't gone down well with Pakistan. It says if Afghanistan goes ahead with this project, it will have several consequences. Allow me to quote a statement again from Balochistan's caretaker Minister for Information, Jan Achakzai. The Islamic Emirates' decision is unilateral, that this is a hostile act against Pakistan. If the Afghan Taliban proceeds with this dam without involving Pakistan, it will have severe consequences such as escalating tensions and political conflict. So on one hand, Pakistan is dealing with a domestic challenge in the form of growing terror attacks. On the other hand, it is dealing with tensions along the Afghan border. There's no saying how severe these challenges can get in the days ahead.
We are trying to find out whether there has been human trafficking.
Who are the child sellers? Who are the human traffickers who had put more than 300 Indian origin passengers on a plane to Nicaragua? Did these passengers willingly board the plane, or were they forced to embark on a dangerous journey? We broke the story on Friday. We told you how a plane with 303 Indian origin passengers were grounded in France. The story has taken unexpected turns over the last 48 hours, and some of the details are extremely grim. Let's now start with a quick recap. On the 21st of December, a plane with 303 Indian origin passengers had taken off from Dubai. This plane was en route Nicaragua. It stopped at France's Vatry airport for refueling. This airport is located around 150 kilometers from Paris and mostly serves budget airlines. The plane in question was being operated by a Romanian airline. It is called Legend Airlines. The company has 4 planes. This one was chartered by a client who remains unnamed. After this plane landed in France for refueling, French authorities refused to clear it for takeoff. The plane was then halted. The French prosecutor later said it had received an anonymous tip-off. Someone had informed the authorities that the plane was carrying potential victims of human trafficking. So the plane was grounded. French investigators sprung into action. They carried out identity checks, also checked the conditions in which the passengers were traveling. All passengers were questioned. First, they were told to remain inside the aircraft. Later, a hall was set up for them. Cots were brought in. Passengers were given access to showers and washrooms. They were given meals and hot drinks. 4 French judges questioned the passengers. Reports say some passengers spoke Hindi, some Tamil. Reports say authorities found that over 10 passengers were unaccompanied minors. We don't know exactly how old these minors were, but the very fact that they were traveling alone in a plane that found itself grounded, all this raises alarm. Were these minor victims of human trafficking? Again, we don't have any answers yet. 2 people on board this flight are of particular interest. They are both men. And they have been detained by France's specialized unit. Reports claim that at least 12 passengers of this plane have requested asylum in France. What was happening in this plane? There were way too many red flags. Consular staff from the Indian embassy in Paris were given access to these passengers. In a post on X, formerly Twitter, the embassy said, and I'm quoting here, "We continue to work with the French government for the welfare of the Indians currently at the Vatry airport, 150 kilometers east of Paris, and for early resolution of the situation." Embassy consular staff stationed there thank French authorities for working on this through the long holiday weekend. Now, the passengers stayed at the airport on Friday night. They also spent their Saturday there. The plane has now taken off from France and is en route Mumbai. The expected time of arrival is 11:30 p.m. IST. But the story does not end with touchdown. If anything, it's just the start. There are so many questions regarding this mystery flight and little to no answers. Who chartered the plane? Who are the child sellers? How is that plane had so many unaccompanied minors? Where were they going? And under whose care, most importantly? Where are the parents? Were these children sold to human traffickers, or were their parents duped? Were they sold the dream of a better life? Above all, who is behind it all? Here's one name that has come up. Shashi Kiran Reddy. As per reports, the man runs a human trafficking network. His modus operandi includes chartering flights, taking people to Nicaragua and then smuggling them into the United States. Reddy's name came up back in 2022 after a couple and their 2 children froze to death. The 4 were trying to illegally enter the US from Canada. They were being trafficked from Gujarat in India. Their bodies were found in Manitoba, Canada. And cut to this weekend, as per reports, more than 90 passengers in this mystery plane were from Gujarat. Shashi Kiran Reddy has been in the business of human trafficking for more than 15 years now, from preparing documents to sneaking people into America in container trucks. Reddy takes care of it all. He was arrested following the Manitoba deaths, but was released because there simply wasn't enough evidence against him. Legend Airlines claims its client, who chartered the plane, did provide documents for all the passengers. And as per these documents, all the travelers had valid passports and the permit to go to Nicaragua. As for the allegations of human trafficking, the airline says, and I quote, "The company cannot check the criminal records of the people transported. 303 people is not a number that raises alarm. They are not locked in a truck without ventilation and food." Here is what else is being widely reported. It is possible that the passengers of this plane were traveling through Nicaragua in order to try and enter into the United States or Canada illegally. Some reports say that of the 303 Indian origin passengers, some could have been working in the United Arab Emirates. But what we need to remember here is that neither of these claims has been confirmed by authorities in India. So we need to wait for an official statement and then bring these child sellers to justice. Our next story is from the United States of America, a country which loves to act like the global cop. A country that loves to issue sermons on morality, only that it can't get its own house in order. Let me explain what I'm talking about. Over the weekend, a prominent Hindu temple was vandalized in the US. It was defaced with anti-India graffiti. The incident happened in the state of California. The police are investigating it as a hate crime. Here's what we know about the attack so far. To start with, the attack unfolded at around 8:30 a.m. local time in Newark, California. This is when the Sri Swami Narayan Hindu temple was defaced with anti-India graffiti. According to images posted online, the word Khalistan was spray painted on a signpost outside the temple, along with other objectionable graffiti. The temple's priests have told cops that the vandalism was meant to intimidate them. Here's what a statement from the City of New York Police Department reads. Allow me to quote again. Based on the content of the graffiti, it is believed that the defacement was a targeted attack and the vandalism is being investigated as a possible hate crime. Immediately after the incident, the Consulate General of India in San Francisco condemned the defacing of the temple. Here's what it said in a statement posted online. We strongly condemn the defacing of the Swami Narayan Mandir at Newark, California with anti-India graffiti. The incident has hurt the sentiments of the Indian community. We have pressed for quick investigation and prompt action against the vandals by the US authorities in this matter. Back in New Delhi, India has sought an investigation into the incident. India's External Affairs Minister, S. Jaishankar, has also issued a statement. He says, I have seen the news. As you know, we are concerned about this. Extremist and separatist forces outside India should not get space. Our consulate has lodged a complaint with the US government and the police there over whatever happened, and I believe the matter is being inquired. We do hope this matter is inquired because this is not a standalone incident. In recent months, there have been numerous instances of Indian temples or institutions vandalized. For instance, in July this year, India's consulate in San Francisco came under attack from Khalistan supporters. They tried to set the diplomatic facility on fire. Visuals showed a mob brandishing Khalistan flags, trying to smash glass doors and windows of the consulate building. A year before this, in 2022, the Sri Tulsi Mandir in Queens, New York was attacked. An unidentified individual knocked a statue at the temple over and left it face down on the ground with its arm cracked. And it's not just temples and consulates. Even Indians living in America are coming under attack. America's own media networks say that there has been a huge surge in physical and verbal attacks on Indian Americans across America. In September, a 23-year-old Indian student, Janvi Khandula, was mowed down by an overspeeding police car. That was being driven by a white cop at 130 kilometers per hour. Her body was flung across the road, more than 100 feet. What's worse, body cam footage showed the officers mocking her and saying that they'll write her a check. Now, this was just one example. According to a report by Carnegie Endowment, 1 in 2 Indian Americans report being discriminated against based on their skin color. So what do these instances tell you? That America may call itself the land of the free, but there is nothing farther from the truth. Today's America has become a land of racism and prejudice, where trigger-happy cops who are supposed to protect and serve decide the value of a girl's life based on her skin color. Where Indian institutions repeatedly come under attack from extremists. Given these developments, does America have any right to preach the world? Does it have any right to issue lectures to India? Does it have any right to sermonize? Does it have any right to act as the global cop? I don't think so. India has repeatedly requested Washington to prevent such attacks from happening. It has raised concerns over the rising tide of anti-India activity. How such elements, under the guise of freedom of expression, are engaging in violence, yet there has been little to no action. How then can American lawmakers expect this bilateral relationship to stay alive? I mean, on one hand, America accuses India of conducting illegal activities on its soil. On the other hand, the same America fails to protect Indians and Indian interests. This hypocrisy is not a good indicator of a mature and stable partnership. It's a day of celebration, of faith, of family. But in the land where Jesus was born, it's Heartbreak Christmas. In the city of Bethlehem, the air is heavy with the smell of war. The iconic Manger Square is quiet and empty. There is no Christmas tree. There are no lights. There are no Christmas carols. There are no tourists. Instead, the city of Bethlehem, which now stands in the middle of a war zone, is marking Christmas with one message: solidarity with Palestine.
Bethlehem is a message. It's not a city. It's a message of peace to the whole world. From this sacred place, we convey a message of peace to all the leaders in the world, that there should be pressure to stop this war, to have the courage to say stop to the war, stop the blood, the killing and the revenge, where many lives were lost. 20,000 people is not a small number, as well as 50,000 wounded. That's enough.
This year, the nativity scene shows the Holy Family surrounded by rubble and razor wire. It's a harrowing, bombed-out version. It shows Jesus entering the world amid a pile of Gazan rubble. Normally, Bethlehem is busiest at Christmas, not this year. War has deserted the city. Since October 7th Hamas attack on Israel and the subsequent bombardment of the Gaza Strip, restaurant and store owners in this West Bank city say no one is coming. Jerusalem's Latin Patriarch Pier Battista Pizzaballa, while visiting Bethlehem on 24th, said, "The message of Christmas is not violence, it's peace."
It is a very sad Christmas. As we saw, there is no atmosphere of feast because we are in a war, terrible war, and our thought goes first and foremost to Gaza, to our people of Gaza, to all the people of Gaza, but special attention to our also Christian community of Gaza who is suffering. But I know that we are not the only ones suffering. 2 million are suffering without house, without hungry. They are hungry, unbearable situation, and we are here to pray, but also tonight to ask not just for the ceasefire. Ceasefire is not enough. We have to stop these hostilities and to turn the page, because violence generates only violence. And the message of Christmas is not violence, it's peace.
Today, Pope Francis lamented that Jesus' message of peace was being drowned out by the futile logic of war.
Tonight, our hearts are in Bethlehem, where the Prince of Peace is once more rejected by the futile logic of war, where the clash of arms that even today prevents him from finding room in the world.
The 87-year-old pontiff's message came hours after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to fight deeper into Gaza. Pope Francis has made numerous appeals for a ceasefire in Gaza. He has also called for the release of all hostages held by the Palestinian militant groups. Hamas, as well as Islamic Jihad, are still believed to be holding more than 100 hostages. Both groups have sworn to Israel's destruction. Since Hamas went on a rampage on October 7th, Israel has declared war on the Gaza Strip. IDF forces have laid much of it to waste. More than 20,000 have died. Thousands more are believed to be dead under the rubble. The vast majority of Gazans, some 2.3 million of them, have been driven out of their homes. They are now living in catastrophic conditions. On Christmas Eve, the Israeli strike killed 100 people in the Maghazi refugee camp. It is located in central Gaza. And this was one of the deadliest nights for Gaza in war. As Gaza bleeds, people in Bethlehem are finding it difficult to celebrate. It is impossible when so many have lost so much, they say. The sentiment is shared by Syria. Here too, Christmas festivities have been cancelled. The Syriac Catholic Archbishop of Aleppo said, and I quote, "In Palestine, the birthplace of Jesus Christ, people are suffering. In Syria, we cancelled all official celebrations and receptions in our churches in solidarity with the victims of the bombing on Gaza." The Syriac Catholic Church was not alone. Leaders of 3 of Syria's major churches, the Greek Orthodox, the Syriac Orthodox and the Melkite Greek Catholic Patriarchs, all announced that they were cancelling Christmas festivities and limiting celebrations. Take a look. Before Syria's civil war erupted in 2011, the country was home to more than 1.2 million Christians. Of course, a huge number of Christians have fled since then. The conflict had dampened Christmas celebrations. But recently, festivities had picked up as the main front lines froze and government forces gained control of large swathes of the country. Still, the gloom prevailed in the streets of Damascus. Reports say Damascus residents read about the devastation of Gaza, and they just don't find it within themselves to put up Christmas trees. This year has been full of devastation. It began with the earthquake in Syria and has now ended with the Gaza war. Speaking of loss, it has been a challenging holiday season and even more challenging 2 years for Ukraine. Russia's invasion has brought tragedy and suffering, but it has also changed Christmas in the country. For the first time, Ukrainians are celebrating Christmas on December 25th. You see, it is supposed to be a snub to Russia. Most Eastern Christian churches use the Julian calendar, and according to this calendar, Christmas falls on January 7th. Western churches use the Gregorian calendar, which is used in everyday life, and according to which Christmas is celebrated on December 25th. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky signed a law in July to move the celebration to December 25th. He said it will allow Ukrainians to abandon Russian heritage. And so the date change is a message of defiance. It is a part of hastened moves to remove any traces of Russia and Soviet empires. During the Soviet Union era, atheism was encouraged. Christmas traditions would take place during New Year's Eve, which became the main holiday. And after Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014, the Orthodox Church of Ukraine formally broke away from the Russian Orthodox Church. The political rift has seen priests as well as entire parishes swap from one church to another. In Ukraine, the new Orthodox Church is growing fast. It is even taking over several Russia-linked church buildings. It is a move supported by the Ukrainian government. And so, on Christmas Eve this year, Ukrainians around the world voiced support for a Christmas date change. In Kyiv, worshippers packed at St. Michael's Golden Dome Monastery. It is the headquarters of the new independent church. They took part in the Christmas service led by the primate of the Orthodox Church of Ukraine. And while Ukrainians celebrated Christmas in defiance of Russia, in another part of the world, it brought with foreign influence concerns. In China, where Sinicization or the act of making everything more Chinese is the norm, Christmas is not a public holiday. In many parts of the country, extending the season's greeting is out of question. In some regions, shops have been urged to not sell Christmas cards or presents. Shopping mall tenants have been asked to refrain from hanging Christmas decorations. Why? You see, in China, where everything is controlled, there are concerns that all this is foreign tradition. It is widely accepted norm. Don't follow these traditions blindly. Be confident in your own culture, they say. So what's the solution? Schools in some Chinese cities are teaching students as well as parents do not follow foreign traditions. In the Gansu province of China, a local branch of the Communist Youth League has told members, celebrate the battle at Lake Changjin instead. It is a 2021 Chinese film. It depicts fierce fighting between the Chinese army and the US forces during the Korean War. So while China does not ban Christianity or forbid Christian worship, like all permitted religions in the country, Christianity is strictly managed and governed. But even in countries not afflicted by war, a wider, more palpable conflict looms, the climate conflict. This Christmas is the hottest in years. In the UK, authorities have declared Christmas Eve 2023 the warmest one since 1997. The temperature recorded on Sunday was 15.3 degrees Celsius. Now, that's not normal for the United Kingdom. Even here in India, people are ditching sweaters. According to the Indian Met Department, this winter will be warmer than usual for the entire country. The monthly maximum temperatures for December are likely to be above normal. As the earth overheats, the days of a snowy white Christmas could soon become a thing of the past. Yes, the alpine regions will deliver white Christmases, but the weather will become more and more unpredictable. Climate change is not only threatening winter wonderlands, it also affects Christmas traditions in warmer places. Take, for example, France, Italy and Germany. Reports say that global warming is slowly diminishing the likelihood of snow. But despite such tragic stories, it's not all doom and gloom. In the United States, surfing Santas rode the Christmas waves in Florida. This is an annual event now in its 15th year. Although the sun was missing, the waves were there and so were the surfing Santas. In Australia, the threat of wild weather wasn't enough to turn away crowds celebrating Christmas. At the iconic Bondi Beach, revelers gathered to celebrate summer Christmas. And in India, thousands joined in the celebrations and fervour and joy in Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai and Kolkata. So what should I say about Christmas 2023? Even amid war and conflict, the world is celebrating the festival. Perhaps that should be the only takeaway this year. May this Christmas be a reminder of that human spirit, that the only logic is peace and togetherness, not death and devastation. We now explore a critical global crisis affecting many, the harsh reality of youth unemployment. Across the globe, young graduates, despite their high educational investments and hopes for a promising future, are increasingly facing the challenges of joblessness. As we head towards the new year, this issue continues to cast a shadow over the job market, particularly for the youth, well into 2024. Let me begin with China, where the situation is particularly concerning. Young adults here are facing an astounding 20.4% unemployment, a statistic that reveals the depth of the crisis. The situation is complex. Chinese students who studied abroad are returning to an already saturated job market. Furthermore, the pandemic has transformed the recruitment landscape significantly, leading to a preference for in-person interviews, which is a disadvantage for many of the students who are studying abroad. Owing to the timing difference, travel expense, among other issues associated with being outside the country, the challenge is further compounded by the record number of domestic graduates. With an anticipated 11.79 million new graduates next year, according to the Education Ministry, that would mark 210,000 of a jump from this year's numbers. Now, in this intensely competitive environment, the domestic job market is unable to accommodate the rising demand for high-skill and high-paying jobs. As a result, many graduates are lowering their career expectations. For those studying abroad, the hurdles for looking at jobs outside are even higher due to limited connections and strict immigration policies. Despite sending countless applications, many find it challenging to secure a job. In response, a growing number is now turning to government and state-owned jobs for greater job security, a trend that brings into question the future of the private sector and innovation in China, at least for the foreseeable future. Now let's talk about what's happening in the United Kingdom. Youth unemployment is currently at a historic low. According to recent data, youth unemployment rate in the country reached 12.8% compared to an unemployment rate of 4.2% for the whole population. Now, the cause of youth unemployment in the country is quite frankly startling and is a public health concern. A rise in long-term illnesses, especially mental health issues like depression and anxiety. Over the past 4 years, there has been a 44% rise in young people out of work due to health issues, with more than 560,000 affected. Now, this points to a deepening mental health crisis and the lack of adequate health services. Experts are urging for an overhaul in mental health care and a reform in the work environment to better support the young. The situation is critical and the implications for the future of UK's workforce concerning. In Canada now, the scenario is puzzling. Employers are now keen to hire but face a significant talent shortage. This gap stems from a disconnect between the skills of job seekers and the needs of available positions. The issue is further aggravated by a slowing hiring pace. Critical sectors like information technology, engineering and healthcare are particularly impacted by a talent crunch. This situation highlights the need to reassess educational and vocational training programs to better prepare young people for the current job market. Bridging this skill gap is crucial for Canada to enable its youth to fully participate in the economy. Interestingly, earlier this year, 77,000 jobs were lost in Canada. Who bore the brunt of these losses? The Canadian youth. Data from November places youth unemployment rate of the country at 11.6%. In fact, 1 in 5 students surveyed by the University of Calgary's Student Union could not get full-time employment this summer. While a minor example, it highlights a broader issue that the country is facing. It is apparent that both potential employees and employers are not able to meet each other's requirements. Numerous immigrants who go abroad to study there are facing a similar problem. Despite spending so much on education in Canada, they often find themselves with no employment in their line of work. Youth unemployment is clearly a complex issue with varying root causes in different countries at different times. It's a global challenge which requires tailored local solutions, whether it's tackling the skills mismatch in Canada, addressing rampant mental health issues in the United Kingdom, or managing the balance between public and private sector opportunities in China. Each country must develop strategies that meet the unique needs of the youth. This issue goes beyond just economic concerns. It is ultimately about the very future of our global society and the well-being of the next generation. Moving on, a shocking incident has come to light in China, where one surgeon is being investigated for allegedly punching a patient. This clip has gone viral in China. You have to see it to believe it. Take a look.
A surgeon in China has been suspended because the doctor punched his patient. The surgeon is now the subject of an investigation in China. The clip of the doctor punching the patient has gone viral in China. Here's what happened. There's a video online which is currently viral. It appears to show a surgeon punching a patient in the head. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. All this rage while the surgeon is operating on the patient's eyes. Reports say this patient is 82 years old. One can see the patient shift positions under the blanket, only to be struck with a punch thrice by the surgeon. Shocked? So are we. But this is what happened, according to reports. The incident took place during an operation. For background, this is a hospital in Guiyang. It is run by AIER China. AIER China operates a chain of eye hospitals. The patient was an 82-year-old woman. So what happened to her? Well, reports say this patient had surgical intolerance due to local anesthesia given to her during surgery. So much so that she moved her head and eyeballs multiple times during surgery. Since she spoke Mandarin, she couldn't respond to the doctor's warning. So, reports say the doctor had to resort to treating her roughly in an emergency situation. She carried bruises on her forehead thereafter. The hospital's management had to apologize to the patient and also pay around 500 yuan or $70 to the patient's son. The son claims his mother is now blind in her left eye, but we cannot confirm if this happened before or after the incident. But the hospital chain has now confirmed that the surgeon has been fired over serious violations of the group's regulations. What's even more shocking is that the punching incident took place back in 2019, but it has become viral since one prominent Chinese doctor shared the visuals of the surgery on social media. The same Chinese doctor, Dr. Ai Fen, who was part of the team that alerted the world about the Wuhan virus. She has more than 2 million followers on Weibo. Dr. Ai has made other claims in the past. In fact, she is embroiled in several legal disputes with the hospital chain AIER China. She had gone for an operation back in 2021. She alleges that she is nearly blind in one eye since that operation. The hospital chain denies all allegations.
The dreaded day is here. Artificial intelligence is actually taking away your job. A recent report from Resume Builder surveying some 750 business leaders using AI has revealed a disturbing trend. 37% of those surveyed admitted that AI has replaced workers this year, and 44% anticipate layoffs next year, all because of AI. This phenomenon is not hypothetical or speculative anymore. It's happening now, with major players like Paytm and Google leading the charge and making headlines. Indian fintech giant Paytm has recently announced massive layoffs, while global search giant Google is reportedly contemplating axing a significant number of its staff. These layoffs are not just about cost-cutting, they are a direct consequence of the increasing adoption of AI in day-to-day operations. In the case of Paytm, the company has fired more than 1,000 employees across multiple divisions, including sales, operations, and engineering. The decision follows Paytm's implementation of AI technologies to enhance efficiency. The company is using AI tools from Google and Microsoft, particularly in areas involving repetitive tasks. The AI-driven automation is expected to reduce employee costs by 10 to 15%, which is a considerable margin for any organization. The move by Paytm highlights a strategic shift, one that leans towards leveraging AI for greater efficiency. Now, this is not the first time that Paytm has announced major layoffs. In 2021, the fintech firm let go of 500 to 700 employees based on non-performance. On the other hand, Google is now planning a major internal restructuring of its 30,000-strong ad sales unit, all because of advances in AI. This reorganization stems from the introduction of AI-based tools that can automatically suggest and create new ads, reducing the need for a large human workforce in this segment. This shift highlights the increasing role of AI in streamlining operations, potentially replacing jobs that were once considered secure. This move has sparked major concerns within the organization, especially since Google had recently laid off more than 12,000 employees. The risk of another mass layoff seems imminent. The recent news from Paytm and Google is just the tip of the iceberg. We are now witnessing a global trend where companies across various sectors are increasingly relying on AI for automation, leading to significant job displacement. The sectors most affected include those involving repetitive and routine tasks, which are now being handled more efficiently by AI systems. and will be automated for scale. A sizable number of experts predict that the rise of AI will lead to the automation of many professions within the next 5 to 10 years. And while this technological advancement promises business many competitive advantages, it ultimately raises serious questions about the future of employment, about the nature of jobs in the ever-evolving AI era. Coming back to the recent study carried out by Resume Builder, the numbers projected for next year are terrifying. Every 1 in 3 companies is forecast to replace employees with AI in 2024. The study revealed that 4 in 10 companies say that AI will likely replace employees next year. 44% of companies that use AI or plan to integrate it as part of their operations highlight that anywhere between 21% to 23% employees will definitely be laid off due to the use of AI. There's more. From next year, 96% companies surveyed for the study will be looking to hire employees with AI skills. The report states 91% companies that are using AI or are planning to integrate it from next year will hire new employees, and it would benefit them if they have AI skills. 83% of the same group say that employees with AI skills will have more job security in their firms compared to those who don't. Now, in this ever-evolving landscape, the challenge for both employees and employers alike will be to adapt to these changes. Workers will need to acquire new skills that are complementary to AI technology, while businesses will have to strategically balance the benefits of AI with the human element that remains crucial to many aspects of operations. So as we move forward, it's clear that AI is no longer just a tool for improving productivity, but a disruptor that is redefining the nature of work. The question remains, how will we as a society adapt to these changes and ensure that the benefits of AI are balanced so that AI can help us evolve without making us redundant? Our last story tonight is about the United Kingdom and its grandstanding in South America. Why do I say this? Because as I speak, the UK is preparing to send a warship to Guyana to show diplomatic and military support for the former British colony. Why was this support needed? Because of Venezuela. You see, Venezuela has renewed its claim for a disputed part of Guyanese territory. The disputed area happens to be rich in oil and minerals. Venezuela says it is the rightful owner of this territory. This is the region we're talking about. Essequibo, west of the Essequibo River. As of today, this territory is controlled by Guyana as part of its 6 regions. Venezuela says it shouldn't be. It insists that Essequibo was part of its territory during the Spanish colonial period. It further argues that a 1966 Geneva Agreement with Britain nullified a border draw in 1899 by international arbitrators. Since then, the dispute had been lying untouched. But all of a sudden, it has been reignited. Why? Because of the discovery of oil in this region. You see, the hills and jungles of Essequibo are rich in gold, diamonds, bauxite. Plus, huge oil deposits have also been found off its coast. Recently, Venezuela also held a referendum to claim this land. The referendum was held on December 3rd. During the vote, it was unanimously decided to take over this territory. But the question is, what role is the United Kingdom playing here? Well, given how Guyana once used to be British Guyana, a former colony, so it has now decided to intervene. Reports say Britain is sending the offshore patrol vessel, the HMS Trent, to the country. It is currently stationed in Barbados. But after Christmas, it will leave for Guyana for activities which will be carried out at sea. What sort of activities? This, the UK has not clarified on. But this is what the UK's Foreign Officer Minister for the Americas and the Caribbean, David Rutley, said during his visit to Guyana. Allow me to quote. The border issue has been settled for over 120 years. Sovereign borders must be respected wherever they are in the world. Venezuela had promised to refrain from the use of force and any further escalation in the dispute. The UK would work internationally to ensure the territorial integrity of Guyana is upheld. So how exactly is it going to uphold Guyana's territorial integrity? We don't know. But it helps to look at the credentials of the vessel Britain is sending, the HMS Trent. It is a river-class patrol vessel designed for work which the UK describes as defence diplomacy. In other words, the vessel will be ready to protect Guyana in case Venezuela invades the region and sparks an interstate war in South America. British officials say that Venezuela might just do this because its economy is suffering, while Guyana's economy is growing pretty fast. Whatever be the case, the involvement of the UK might just escalate prevailing tensions. Venezuela is already up in arms against this move. The country's foreign minister has issued a statement. Here's what it states. The former invading and enslaving empire, which illegally occupied the territory of Guyana and acted in a skillful and sneaky manner against the interest of Venezuela, insists on intervening in a territorial controversy that they themselves generated. So in a nutshell, this intervention by Britain may escalate this dispute even further. This is a developing story, and we'll of course be tracking all the developments closely. 2023 was a grim year for tigers in India. 202 big cats died in the wild, the highest in more than a decade. The 202 deaths were recorded between 1st of January and the 24th of December this year. In Maharashtra alone, 52 tigers died in the wild. Almost half of them died either in Chandrapur or Gadchiroli. 47 died in Madhya Pradesh. Many of them were cubs. It's a sad story. And it may come as a surprise to some of you because we often associate India with tiger conservation, not deaths. But here's the truth. As the tiger population goes up in India, there is also an uptick in the number of deaths. In 2019, 96 tigers died in India. The number became 106 in 2020. It increased to 127 the following year. In 2022, the number fell to 121. But this year, the number of deaths has nearly doubled. 202 tigers have died. What gives? Reports say poaching and electrocution are among the biggest contributors to tiger deaths, at least in the case of Maharashtra. Of the 202 big cats that died, 55 were due to poaching. Next question. What does this alarming number of deaths mean for India's tiger conservation? India's Project Tiger has been exemplary. In the mid-1960s, tigers were on the brink of disappearing from India's jungles. Their habitat was fast disappearing. Tigers were also being hunted, so India decided to do all it can to save the big cats. Tiger hunting was banned in 1968. In 1972, the Wildlife Protection Act saw the light of day. The next year, the tiger was declared the national animal. India also launched Project Tiger and increased the number of tiger reserves. Today, India boasts of 70% of the world's tiger population. India is home to more than 3,600 big cats. This is as per the AITE, or the All India Tiger Estimation. So what do these record tiger deaths mean for the conservation program? Well, it depends on whom you ask. Some experts say there is nothing to worry. They say the rate of tiger mortality being recorded in India is normal. Others differ. They say the rate of mortality is too high. Either way, poaching and unnatural deaths can never be good news. Let's hope the trend ends with this year and 2023 is safer for the big cats. And with that, it's a wrap on the show. Now, we began the show by showing you how the day of celebration had turned into a day of blood and tears in some parts of the world. Elsewhere in the world too, while celebrations were mellow, there were many who were glad that they could come out of their house and go to a Christmas market after losing 3 years of Christmas to the Wuhan virus. We are now leaving you with visuals from around the world, and a very Merry Christmas to all those celebrating today.
Israel woke up to a barrage of thousands of rockets fired from the Gaza Strip.
אזרחי ישראל, אנחנו במלחמה.
Hostilities have broken out between Israel and Palestine, and the tensions that had been gathering steam over the course of the last several weeks and months.
The siren has gone off. I don't know if you can hear in the background what's going on. I'm going into the shelter now. So it's a very, very serious situation here across Israel. It's a state of emergency.
The United States stands with Israel.
Well, we are starting this broadcast with a developing story from West Asia, where Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant says Hamas has launched a war against the state of Israel.
It's easy to tell you a flat story. It's easy to show you what's happening around the world. We do the